everybody. My name is Mattie Mead. I'm the founder and CEO of Hempitecture. Hempitecture is a building materials company. Hopefully I'm coming through clearly now. Hempitecture is a building materials company with a focus on creating low embodied carbon materials, but more on what Hempitecture does to come. Before I jump into today, first I just want to say thank you to Amy Christensen for the warm welcome, as well as the Christensen Global Strategy team for organizing this event. If you just look at the program, the incredible speakers that are lined up here, it's clear that they have gone to great lengths to bring people together to catalyze transformations to a world that I believe we all want, a more sustainable future. It's an honor to be part of that here today. So the title for my talk today is titled Scaling a Climate Solutions Company. I'm going to dive into what I think is essential for bringing a business like Hempitecture to life. But first, I will preface with the fact that Hempitecture is currently working to achieve scale. By no means are we finished in our mission. We're really just getting started. So to use a metaphor, today's talk is sort of like how to fly an airplane while we're still building the plane itself. So let's take off. Climate companies, they can take a lot of different shapes and many in their own ways. We're all working towards the same problem. That macro problem is emissions, carbon footprints, and furthering that imbalance between people and planet. Each company goes about solving this problem with their own industry-focused solutions. So you have people working towards the electrification of the grid. You have folks working towards clean energy or direct air carbon capture. My business, Hempitecture, we sit inside of this world that's attempting to solve a big challenge. Instead of electrification or renewable energy or software, we're working in the building materials space. This is certainly a less than sexy industry. I get that, I know that. But without building materials, we have no built environment. We have no homes. We have no place to work, no place to congregate, as we're gathered here to do right now, to share in big ideas that can change the world. For that reason, that our built environment is so ubiquitous, we often don't think about the impact that buildings like this have on our world. Hempitecture has evolved to address the problem of embodied carbon in construction. Nearly 40% of our domestic carbon footprint is produced through buildings and their operations. This spans from the energy that buildings require to heat and cool so we're comfortable, to the other end of the spectrum, the embodied energy, the embodied carbon that goes into producing these products and the construction of the building itself. If you compare the emissions of the built environment to other areas of carbon emissions, the built environment is responsible for more than transportation, manufacturing. It's the largest portion of the pie chart. So with that in mind, this problem, it creates an opportunity. What if we could upend this statistic? What if we could turn our homes, our buildings, the places that we work, play, and enjoy into carbon capturing resources? In 2018, that's what Hempitecture set out to do, to reconsider our built environment and the materials that they're made with, to look at natural, renewable resources that have negative carbon footprints that can help make our homes more healthy and sustainable. We are, of course, biased as a building materials manufacturer, but we view revolutionizing the building materials space as truly the opportunity of our time. There is a holistic approach that's required to solve this problem, but it has to start with the materials that are designed and implemented into the buildings themselves. In 2017, Bruce King published a book titled The New Carbon Architecture. Put simply, his thesis was we need a new type of architecture that, in his words, builds out of the sky. What does that mean? Well, for the first time in history, he says, we can build pretty much anything out of carbon coaxed from the air. We can structure any architectural style with wood. We can insulate with straw, hemp, mushrooms. We can make concrete, better concrete, with clay, microbes, and smoke. King concludes that all of these emerging technologies and more, they arrive in tandem with the growing understanding that the embodied carbon of the building materials world matters a great deal more than anyone thought might matter in the fight to halt and reverse climate change. The publication of this book coincides with Hempitecture's incorporation in 2018, when we set out to create a scalable business. By utilizing the power of the sun, photosynthesis, and harnessing renewable materials from the earth, Hempitecture has developed a roadmap of products and strategies to address this problem. Today, I'm not going to go too deep into our exact solutions, but to provide some context, Hempitecture is the first company in the US to design and build a manufacturing facility capable of taking natural fibers, such as industrial hemp, and converting it into materials like thermal insulation. In general, our approach is to look at the materials that are out there that exist in the world, those conventional materials like fiberglass, spray foam, mineral wool, and replace them with natural bio-based materials. Today, we're in an early commercialization stage of bringing these products to market. We've designed various formulations of insulating materials, ranging from flexible bats to rigid boards to blow-in insulation, and we're testing these materials today for their performance. We're conducting life cycle analyses to understand exactly how much carbon dioxide these products of ours are removing from the air, and we're beginning to sell into early adopter markets. We still have a long way to go until we're on the shelves of Home Depot, sitting side by side the products we're reimagining. So how do we get here today? And how do we end up on the shelves of Home Depot tomorrow? In the average lifespan of startups, a company that was born in 2018 probably should have been through multiple fundraising rounds, the technology should be deployed, and have a massively growing user base. But that's not exactly where Hempitecture is today. We're not a technology company where the return on investment can be calculated in months. We're not a company that typical venture investing is drawn to. We're a company where patient capital and early motivated investors can stand behind us in the long fight ahead. This brings me to my first point on how to scale a climate solutions company, the critical challenge of funding. On a recent business trip, I was listening to the Wall Street Journal podcast, The Journal. There was a particular episode that featured Jigar Shah, director of the Loan Programs Office at the Department of Energy. He's speaking at this conference. Shah's task is to finance the country's newest green energy projects, jumpstarting technologies that in the past would have been seen as too risky for the conventional VC to get behind. Shah coined the term bankability. He says this term has followed him around since his early days in the solar industry when he was launching his solar company, SunEdison. He found that banks didn't find his concept bankable. From Shah's perspective, the bank wouldn't give him a loan because they were worried that if the venture failed, they would never get their money back. If we look back on this early challenge of accessing funds for a solar startup, it almost seems unbelievable because today, solar is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It has taken advantage of scale. Costs are reduced, and the technology is now more affordable to the average consumer than it would have been 20 years ago. Unfortunately, bankability, that's an issue that weighs heavily on startups. Today, Shah receives $400 billion in DOE funding, and he was asked, why shouldn't the private sector be supporting companies like this? He says, God, I wish. Yes, it should be coming from the private sector, but our entire career is a testament to the private sector not wanting to do this stuff. Applicants are in my office because the private sector won't step up. After listening to this podcast, I could not help but think about the countless meetings Hempitecture had with banks when seeking debt funding for our first-of-its-kind facility in the United States. We were, in Shah's words, unbankable. We went out to private investors, having hundreds of meetings explaining our vision for creating bio-based building materials from rapidly renewable resources that benefit farmers. The feedback was we were too early, we were too late, we were too risky, or too unproven. So how do you become bankable? How do you get funding to advance your mission? For Hempitecture, we looked under every stone, and we reflected on an idea that brought together people, the general public, both accredited and unaccredited investors, to be behind us for the long road ahead. We launched an online crowdfunding campaign because we couldn't get that buy-in that we needed from banks or VCs. What resulted was we had 1,800 people come together and help us propel us past our fundraising goal. That then triggered angel investors to be interested in Hempitecture, and we're really able to grow our fundraising round. Without the ability to raise those funds from the public, it's conceivable that Hempitecture would have been dead in the water, in that gray area where no VC or bank would play. Today, we've deployed the proceeds from our round to build a factory where today we're proving out our concepts. We're at a scale that in 2018 would have just been impossible to imagine. On a daily basis, our manufacturing team is working to innovate new products, improve our efficiency, and go where no one else has gone in the United States before, creating building materials using industrial hemp and other natural plant fibers. As a result, we're empowering other startups along the way. A rising tide lifts all ships, and as our ship rises, so too does the legitimacy of the supply chain that we rely on. Now our farming partners, they're able to go out and they're able to contract more acreage, knowing that Hempitecture is positioned to be a buyer of their processed fibers. As the scale of our supply chain grows, the cost can be driven down, which ultimately will benefit the consumers. I mentioned before, it's easy to imagine Hempitecture could have been dead in the water before it really got going, hitting fundraising bottlenecks to launch our production facility. So why didn't we die? Why isn't it already over for Hempitecture? This brings me to my second point. To scale a climate solutions company, you must truly believe in your solution. When my co-founder joined me in 2018 to formally incorporate Hempitecture, we looked at various structures for incorporation, and ultimately we settled on a public benefit corporation structure, which allowed us to have a stated mission beyond just generating revenue. Our mission, to benefit people and planet through the sequestration of carbon dioxide, that's the backbone of our business. It's why through the good times and the bad, we're still standing. We represent something more than just raising money alone. With that belief in our mission, we know we're on the right track. We just needed the funding to prove that early on. So to those of you who are seeking to build a climate solutions company, ask yourself, do you believe in the mission that you're pursuing? If the answer is yes, keep going. Do not give up. And this brings me to the last point of my talk today. A mission-driven company must have buy-in from all members of the team, from those working on the production floor to those working in the office to your board of directors. The value of a team that has 100% buy-in cannot be understated. Today at Hempitecture, we have over 12 different team members from various different walks of life, different political value systems, and diverse upbringings. What brings us all together is our belief. Our belief that what we're doing is important, that what we're doing is valuable, that what we are doing can make the world a better place. On the path to scaling a climate solutions company, you're definitely going to make mistakes. I can attest to that. You will make mistakes that bring you away from your mission. Keep that mission as your guiding light for aligning your team towards achieving your goals. At Hempitecture, we still have a long way to go. Hempitecture is grinding out a brand new industry on the ground floor. We believe that it won't be long before bigger players in the building material space begin to take notice. And in fact, we're seeing that today, and that's validation that hard things are worth fighting for. As the first company to bring bio-based insulation to market at scale in the United States, we have no illusions that there will be unseen challenges ahead. Reaching the scale where our products can be brought at price parity on the shelves of Home Depot and a big box store, that's going to take time. But with our team, with our resolve, and with our mission as our guiding light, we can and we will get there. Thank you for the time today and the opportunity to share the Hempitecture story with you all.